Welcome to the Financial Freedom Podcast with your host, Lorna Poole, sharing the secrets to creating wealth, investing, and that all-important money mindset. To find out more and accelerate your journey to financial freedom, head on over to www.lornapoole.com to get started. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Financial Freedom Podcast. Wouldn't you love to become debt-free? Is debt-free stopping you from creating your financial freedom? With me today is Christian Stewart, and she is a passionate financial coach, helping people to develop their plans to bridge the gap between their current reality and the dreams of their future. She walks her talk with financial freedom and has paid off her debt of over $30,000 in only 2 years. Christian founded Do Better Financial to empower people to take control of their finances and start living the lives they've always dreamt of. Christine, great to have you here.
Thanks for having me, Lorna. I'm glad to be here.
So tell me this, right? Debt. A lot of people are in debt.
Probably about 80% of the people my age and younger are dealing with student loan debt in particular. But
and what age are you?
It's really an epidemic.
What age are you? Just clarify.
Oh, that's a good question. I'm 31.
Yes, a lot of people are in debt, and a lot of people are in debt. A lot of people die broke.
They do. And it's really unfortunate.
And a lot of people don't manage their money.
No, and a lot of people kind of just let money come and go, and it has a way of going if you don't, make a plan to hold on to it. So,
So debt-free from $30,000 in just 2 years. That's fast.
It was pretty fast, yeah.
So how does somebody who's listening to this, right? They really struggle with debt, okay? And I know for some people it can be like they can get a lot of emotion and guilt around it. And they find another way to get themselves back in debt, whether it's several credit cards or, car loan, whatever it is. And it can become a real spiraling problem for people. And it can really suck your energy.
It definitely can. And for those people, I just want to, there's an old saying that, there's no use crying over spilt milk. And all it really means is, you messed up, but you can't undo the mess up. The best you can do is clean it up and figure out what caused you to make the mistakes the first time around and try to eliminate those behaviors in the future. So like you said, you get out of debt and go right back in. It's not just about getting out of debt. It's about creating a lifestyle that you can live and having decisions that you've made up front that allow you to get through those difficult seasons when it seems like you need a credit card or you need to finance a new car. It's having that in your mind. I'm not doing that. I'm going to figure out another way because I'm not doing that. And that's kind of what it was for me. When
so would you say the
Yep.
first thing is making the choice?
It's the absolute first thing. Because if you don't want to do it, if you haven't decided that you want it, that you need it, it's never going to happen. There's a quote that says, those convinced against their will are of the same opinion still, which just means if somebody else makes you do it, eventually you're going to go back to doing what you wanted to do in the first place.
I love that quote.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites.
Say it again because it's really good.
Those convinced against their will are of the same opinion still.
Love it. Yeah. Okay. So I say I'm debt free, right? Where do I begin?
Right.
What do I do? How do I get rid of my 30,000?
Well, the first thing you do, like we said, is decide that you want to. And then right after that, you need a budget. And I know I can already hear people sighing right now in my mind. Think of it as a cash flow plan, right? If you were going to build a house, you would not just go to the store and, buy a pile of lumber and say, that looks like enough. And then, go find a contractor and be like, hey, I want a house over there, make it about 2,000 square feet with 2 bathrooms and 3 bedrooms. You wouldn't do that because there's no telling what you would get. And that's how a lot of us approach our finances. It's like, oh, I need to do this and that, but I'm not going to worry about the details, right? You need to worry about the details. So you need to get yourself a budget, figure out exactly what you plan to spend money on in the coming month. I know there's expense, there's emergencies, but those come, they're coming. They like to say that emergencies are like rain. You don't assume it's never going to rain. That's why you own an umbrella, right? So assume it's going to rain.
I think budgets get too big for people in their heads. So how can someone create a simple budget?
So the simplest way to create a budget is paper and pencil. I know everybody loves apps, but sometimes when you're first starting out, the extra daunting task of learning a new piece of technology while you're also trying to learn new money behaviors is just too much. Start with paper and pencil, figure out how much you make, write down those basic bills, rent, utilities, so on and so forth. Figure out about how much you spend on food. If you have what are those things called? If you go to a gym, that lets you know what I don't do. If you go to a gym, if you have subscriptions, write that stuff out. And the budget I like to use is called zero-based budgeting, which means that you start with how much you make, write down everything you're spending money on, and when you get to the bottom, your income minus expenses should be zero. That doesn't mean you spend it all. You might assign some money to saving or some money to just sitting in the account till next month, whatever. But it just lets you know, okay, all the money has a name on it. And so that when I have a name on it, I don't accidentally spend, the light bill at Target. Or I don't accidentally.
So what you mean by zero base is that money is going to somewhere, even if it's your savings or financial freedom, right? But you have all your money allocated.
Exactly. And the nice thing.
Okay. So with a budget, right? If I'm creating a budget and then, things change, or say I'm self-employed and I get lots of money one month and then nothing the next month, how do I figure, do I create estimates? How do I do that?
So those are 2 questions. So the first one is my favorite question. People are like, oh, I wrote down a budget and things changed. I guess I have to throw the budget out the window. Wrong. A budget is something that you control. So if things change, if you find out, oh, darn, I forgot about, so-and-so's birthday. Well, I didn't have any money allocated for birthdays. That means I can either throw my budget out the window or not do anything for the birthday. Wrong. You can look at the budget and go, well, I have put some money over here. I can move it, right? You can change this thing as the month goes, which is honestly, I just had to do that. I went to Jamaica, and which was wonderful, by the way. But when we were there, I realized I had kind of not budgeted enough for going out and having fun and doing stuff. And so I got on my phone, because I do currently have my budget on my phone, and went, all right, where can this money come from? And I found it, so that when I spent it, I didn't feel guilty about it. I wasn't worried about where it was coming from. I was able to kind of what they call roll with the punches, right? That second question, which is huge for people who are entrepreneurs, people who are like real estate agents or in sales, is what they call irregular income. You don't get to not do a budget. You need one more than anybody, because like you said, one month you can make $10,000 and 1 month you can make $10, right?
Yeah.
So you need a budget more than anybody, because that can get real scary real quick. So here's what I suggest. Most people, especially if you've been doing something like real estate or sales a while, have some sort of base, the least amount you typically make. So let's say, your big months are 10, your lowest month ever was $200, but over the last 6 months, you average all those numbers out, about $2,500, or you've rarely gotten less than $2,500. You do your base budget on that $2,500, fit as much as you can in there, and then you're going to have a secondary list of everything you're going to do with any extra dollar you get after $2,500. So if you get $2,600, the first thing on the list is, we need to, paint the car. I'm making up things, right? And so you paint the car. And then you go down the list and kind of tick them off, and you may have to refresh the list. You may see your base budget, you only have like $2,000 and you have $4,000 worth of stuff you need. It's like, okay, we may need to work in a manner that guarantees we have at least 4, right? Just so that we don't have any gaps in the things we're responsible for. And I think for people with irregular income, I like to suggest what's called a hill and valleys account. So it's kind of like a secondary savings. That way, if you do have another one of those $200 months, you have at least that $2,300 saved up that'll cover your basics if you have a really, really rough month. And that's when you use that $10,000 month to go, okay, here goes my $2,300 for rainy days, in my business, right? Not rainy days like an emergency, like the car broke down or somebody got sick. We're just talking about, recessions or low sales months, snowstorms, hurricanes, north and south, all those kinds of things. You're not selling houses if everybody's house is underwater, right? So you need to have some money set aside. I live in Houston, for those of you who are not familiar, and we were ravaged by a hurricane not that long ago. And so anybody who was on a sales job, you weren't making money for a good 2 weeks. You need to have a cushion for when that stuff happens. Yeah.
No, it's funny because I was speaking to a girl literally yesterday, and she's like, I was like, oh, I haven't been doing much for a month. She goes, oh my God, how do you cope with that? And I'm like, I've developed a muscle to that at this stage. I'm okay. Because it's months and then you've nothing, and being an entrepreneur, being somebody who's a business owner, it's when you come off a wage, it's a new experience, and I've been doing it a while now, so it's funny when you talk about it, and that's great advice. So let's get to the debt part, right? So I've made a decision, I'm creating my budget and I'm sticking to it, okay? How do I include the debt part into that, or how am I going to clear this money? Say it's 30,000, 100,000, whatever. What should I be doing?
Okay, so that is a good question, and my answer probably goes a lot of my math nerds. I am a math nerd, but my answer will go against a lot of their gut feelings about how they should do this. Here's the truth: no matter how you get out of debt, what order you pay things off in, you are not doing it wrong as long as you get it done.
Yeah,
but for me, the best way to do it is what I learned, is the way I did it. That's the only way I can vouch for, because that's how I did it. It's called the debt snowball. You basically are going to list your debts from smallest to largest, pay minimum payments on everything except the small one. And any extra money you get, whether it's from selling things, from working extra hours, from bonuses at work, every extra dollar goes to that smallest debt until it's gone. Then you're going to take that payment and all that extra money you were paying into it and roll it to debt number 2, and so on and so forth until they're gone.
So what you're saying is I write down all my debts, okay?
Right.
I get I'm paying off my bigger ones. I'm not ignoring, but I'm not worrying so much about my small ones. And then any extra money that comes in, I'm clearing that. Is that right?
All right. So let's just do a quick example of what a debt snowball might look like. So you have a $1,000 debt, $5,000 debt, and a $10,000 debt. So you're going to make minimum payments on the $5,000 and $10,000. And on the $1,000 debt, you're going to make the minimum payments as well. But any extra money you can find, you're going to pay it on the $1,000 debt. And the reason for that is you're going to pay that one off quicker, obviously, because it's small. And that is an emotional motivator to keep going. When you see the small one go away, you go, oh, it's working. And you want to keep doing it. When you're trying to chip away at, the 10,000, it's really easy to get tired. And if you don't see any movement, a lot of people, they just like, okay, I got $400. I'm going to split it up between all 3. You don't see the movement. Even though it's moving the exact same amount, you don't see it. And so you don't feel emotionally that, that push to keep going, because seeing it disappear is exciting. That's what kept me going when I was doing it, and why it happened so fast, quite honestly. It was supposed to be 3 years. And as soon as I paid off the first one, I got excited and I started finding more money in my budget to throw at those debts. And all of a sudden they were gone.
I love that. I love that it is, I ran up from my dating coaching. I'd never done this before I did my coaching, and I know not to do it. And I would have ran up a credit card bill, and I never had one. And I'm now clearing that. And
yep.
I have swore to myself, I had a credit card for years, always paid it on time. And I was like, oh, just pay it once. And it'll take me a while but I'm jumping on it right now. Okay. But the thing is, I love that you said about, getting the emotional hit, that you can see it happening.
It helps so much. I mean, getting out of debt is about math, but it's more about motivation. You need momentum,
I love that. I love it. Okay, so any extra money, I'm clearing that small one, and then what do I do? Say I've cleared the small one. Do I add extra to the...
So you've cleared the small one. So we're going to take whatever that minimum payment was on your $1,000 debt. So let's just make up a number and say it was $100. So that was your minimum payment on the $1,000 debt. Now that it's gone, you're going to what we call roll the snowball, right? You're going to add it to the minimum payment on the $5,000 debt. You're going to throw everything you got at that one, just like you did the first one, whether it's your bonus or whether you sell something, whether, I don't know, you get an inheritance or for some reason win the lottery if you play, it goes at the $5,000 debt. And then you're going to do the same thing when it's done, you roll it on to 10. And for me, by the time I got to that last debt, which was my biggest one at the time, it was $7,500. I was so pumped. No, that's wrong. The last debt was my car. That one started out as about 28. And by the time I got to that last one, I was so hyped. I was like, no, this has to go. It can't take any longer. I will find money. I will not do things. I must find money. It has to go.
You know what I love that you said there as well is having the mindset of, rather than, oh, I'm so poor, I don't have money. It's finding the solution. I have the money. Yep. I'll find the money to do this. And I think that's a big aha for a lot of people, because people don't realize when you tell your brain, how can I make money, or how can I clear this debt? The answers show up.
They do. They totally do. It's kind of impressive. There's this theory that people who the people who are successful are the ones who believe they can be successful, right? So it's like, if you believe you're going to get a job, you go into interviews different. If you believe that you can pay debt off, you start seeing money where other people see, nothing. It's like, oh, that's an opportunity for me to make money, or this is an opportunity for me to save money. You start seeing things differently because your focus is different. And they use the term self-talk, but the way that you're encouraging yourself is different. Instead of being negative, you're being positive, and you're more aware.
What else as well? See, what you're doing as well is you're catering to the action, you're catering to the emotional feeling that you believe the belief. Because if we say off an affirmation but we don't feel it, or we don't believe what we're saying, then we create inner conflict that doesn't work for us. So if I get the feeling that I'm clearing my debt, and then I'm starting to believe what I say to myself, and then I can see that the action's creating the result, it inspires you to move quicker, right?
Precisely. That's exactly how it works.
And tell me this, because I've heard so many different things about this, and I know you're going to have a great answer on this. What if I want to create my financial freedom, but I'm in debt? What should I do first? Should I be putting the money away for my financial freedom? Should I be clearing my debt? Should I be doing both at the one time? What should I be doing?
So I'm going to tell you to do your debt first, and here's why. A lot of people like to try and do, like I said, two things at once. But the problem, just like when you're trying to pay a little bit on all your debts, you don't see the movement. And frequently when it comes to debts, I'm going to say like 99% of the time, any amount of interest that you are paying for the thing that you bought, whether that's your education or your car or, all the little things you ran up on your credit card, that interest is going to be higher than anything you're going to get on the market 99% of the time, right? You're not going to get the 8% that you're paying Sally Mae from a checking account in America. Best case scenario, you're getting like 2%. That's best case scenario on a savings, just a regular savings account in America. So getting rid of that does two things. Getting rid of your debt first does two things. It gives you more money to invest into your financial freedom. That's number one. Number two, it helps you put into practice the behaviors necessary to not raid your financial freedom account. A lot of us are in debt because we have poor money management skills, right? Just in general. And so you're talking about credit cards, student loans, payday loans, stuff like that, or if you have to pay the IRS, which I know a lot of people who do for varying reasons. Those behaviors, you need to break them, because if you drag them with you into quote unquote financial freedom, you won't be there long.
No, because, clearing debt changes your energy with money and your relationship with money. And the better your relationship is with money, the better you will make the right decisions when you move to financial freedom, right?
Exactly. Desperate people, what do they say? Desperate salesmen have skinny kids. People can smell desperation. So when you have freedom, when you have a level of, I don't necessarily need you, this is something I want to do, but if you don't want to do it, I'm good, but I want it. That spirit, when you're interacting with people, when you're trying to do business, is a lot different than, oh my gosh, if I can't book this client, I can't pay my rent. People feel that. And it makes a large difference in not only your psyche and the way that you work, it allows you to make better decisions, right? You can say no to something when you don't have to worry about payments, because not every opportunity is the right one. But if you're desperate, you say yes because you desperately need the money,
And you get the worst. Yeah, you get clients that can cost you a lot more in lots of forms. Yeah, absolutely. Christian, this has been amazing. I have absolutely loved this conversation. So to anyone listening today that's in debt, what's that kind of one thing you want to say to her or him?
The best thing that you can do if you're in debt and you're ready for a change is to start today. Don't wait for the 1st of January. Don't wait for the 1st of the month. Get out a piece of paper and do a budget right now. You can, I promise. Just do it.
And
don't wait.
On that note, you've another great question has come up. For a lot of people who maybe are in debt, okay, they're probably screaming right now, I don't have the money to clear my debt, right? What do you say to that?
I'm telling you this. When you do a budget, you will feel like you got a raise. It's amazing when you start writing things down and you actually realize what you do spend, how much money you spend without thinking about it. It just leaves you without your awareness. You have more money than you think. I can't tell you how many clients I personally have, and I've done this myself. I get my W-2 back, which is the, it's our tax document at the end of the year, and it says I made X amount of dollars, and you go, where did it go, right? I never got that money. Wrong, you did. You just gave it to Target and Uber and restaurants and, and sometimes you give it to things that are awesome, like your gym membership, but you've never been to the gym, so you're just wasting money. I promise you, that money's there, but you have got to look for it, and that's what the budget's for.
One more quick question, because I really am enjoying this. Can I clear my debt and still have a life?
Yes, you can. So here's the thing. People say, can I clear my debt and still have a life? Of course you can.
Because I think that's people's fear a lot. They're like, oh, she's going to tell me, oh, I can't go to a restaurant. She's going to tell me I can't go out with my friends. I'm not going to be able to have fun anymore. And I think people see, changing their relationship with money as sort of a chore.
They do. And so there's two sides of that. Can you clear your debt and still have a life? Of course you can. We have, for some reason in America particularly, associated having a life with being able to spend large amounts of money kind of indiscriminately. And as the child of somebody who grew up, towards the end of the Great Depression, my parents and my grandparents grew up relatively poor. They had lots of fun. I'm not saying you got to go outside and play with dirt and sticks. It's not what I'm saying. But I think we need to, as a generation and as a community of people, get more creative with how we have fun. One of the most fun dates I had with my fiance is we sat down on the floor and did a puzzle. We paid for the puzzle, but it was free. So I want to encourage you, if you're thinking there is nothing I can do, I can never see my friends, start thinking outside the box. We used to invite people to our houses. It's way cheaper to have somebody over to your house and everybody bring something to eat than to go to a restaurant, right? As much as expensive as alcohol is, period, it's cheaper to buy a bottle and have it at your house and make drinks than it is to buy drinks at the bar. You can turn up your music just like they can at the bar. Only difference is you get to pick music you like, right? You don't have to suffer through bad songs. So I want people to really embrace thinking outside of the box and remember that a lot of the fun that we have with people is really about the people. It's not about the amount of money we spend. Find ways to spend time with the people that you truly care about, and the money that you can or can't or decide you do or don't want to spend, it'll seem more insignificant. And at the end of the day, this is a decision. If you want to get out of debt like I did and go, crazy, do it in 2 years, pay off $30,000. Yeah, you may skip on some things, but I also went to Cuba on a spur of the moment trip because I had money and no debt. I went to Jamaica. I'm going to the Dominican. I've been to New York. I've been to Brazil. I can do this stuff now because I have no debt.
I love it.
But
I want to wrap it up on that note. Christian, how do we find out more about you?
If you want to get in touch with me, you can go to dobetterfinancial.com. Look me up on Instagram or Facebook at dobetterfinancial.
I love this. And Christian, this has been amazing. And I love the way you shared at the end. Look, I cleared my debt and I have a life. And you will be able to do the things you want to do, right?
There you go. That's why you do it, right?
Thank you. I enjoyed this today. Hey everyone, remember to join us in the Private Financial Freedom Podcast Facebook group with me, your host, Lorna Poole. This is a safe haven of like-minded wealth-getting go-getters who, like you, are on their journey to creating financial freedom in their life. This is where you and I can get intimate. I can give you the support and guidance to go from where you are now to where you want to be, developing your wealth mindset and creating your financial freedom life. Join at www.facebook.com/groups The Financial Freedom Podcast. You will see the links to this on the website. It's in the show notes, or type it into the Facebook group. All you have to type in is Financial Freedom Podcast and you will see us there. Look forward to seeing you in the group. Take care. Thank you for joining us on the Financial Freedom Podcast to creating wealth, investing, and developing your money mindset. To get started today on your journey, head on over to www.lornapoole.com and grab your free course, 5 Steps to Breaking Free from Your Poverty Mindset and Accelerating Your Journey to Financial Freedom. See you there.